We have a very interesting topic today, so the role of the technological revolution and green economy in global economic and security development, very actual, as you understood. I will try to moderate that quite dynamically, if you want, because we are, as I said, out of time. So I will give to the speakers, let's say, 7 minutes to develop their thesis, and maybe with some questions. I would like to thank the organizers, of course. I would like to thank, especially, of course, a big thank to Professor Falico to have organized this forum despite the conditions. I would like to thank also our friend from Azerbaijan who allowed us to come today, and to thank them for their warm welcome. It's always very pleased to be here. And I would like to say that in Eurasian region there is Europe, so it means European. And I'm very happy to see, so of course, the important Italian footprint in this forum, but also some French, but also some Germans being here, and also the AIB, the Association of European Business, coming with an important delegation, and also the presence of Alek Prozorov, of the Luxembourg, Belgium Chamber of Commerce. So I will turn first to Sergei Glaziev, that everybody knows him. I would say that I will present him as a minister, commissioner, I would say, as European, in charge of integration and macroeconomics at the Eurasian Economic Commission. And I will ask you, what is your view on these large challenges? I mean, technological revolution. It's been mainly climate change, so I mean new technology to fight climate change, and also, of course, digitalization. Like, how do you see that? What is your view? And how the Commission help the companies of the countries that you are in charge to face these challenges?
Спасибо, Филипп. Пожалуйста, поставьте презентацию. Я начну с учетом того, что я первый, с некоторого экскурса в общей закономерности долгосрочного технико-экономического развития, которое происходит неравномерно.
I would like to have my slides, please. So I will talk about discontinuous development. As the Science Academy, we have been analyzing this issue of the change in technology for a while. This process is a periodic one. It happens every 15 years, more or less. This is the 6th revolution taking place, and things are changing due to limitations in resources exchange. So we are moving on thanks to new technologies, but the new technological situation is based on nanotechnologies and bioengineering technologies, communication technologies. So this, all of these are growing 35% every year, and all of these changes are implemented in all sectors, including the energy sector. But there is an energy vector in each revolution. For example, the third one linked to electrification based on steel and coal. When electricity became available, widely available, the basic resource was coal. In the following phase, we started extracting oil. The following revolution was linked to microelectronics and environmental problems, and we have seen that the Club of Rome had said that we should already be all dead, suffocated by waste, but these prophecies did not fulfill. And I believe that new technologies will enable us to improve and further from an economic point of view. But we are at an impasse be because if the third revolution was based on coal, the fourth on oil, the fifth one on gas, we are now at the sixth revolution, and we had forecasted a hydrogen era. But because we haven't been able to find hydrogen at a natural state, we didn't have this kind of resource, so we opted for solar energy. And this new technology became possible thanks to nanotechnologies. However, contemporary research proves that natural hydrogen exists, and we have the possibility to capture it. And Mr. Lyron's ideas offer as a solution to move to a hydrogen-based economy without coal. To do this, we need to learn how to use hydrogen that comes from the depth of the Earth. At the moment, we do not have the technology necessary to do that, but I'm hopeful. I am sure that the energy sector will be more clean in the future and less detrimental to our planet. We are already beginning to see this phase. So the most advanced countries are already seeing an exponential growth, which will be the driver for the whole economy, which will grow at a 4 to 5% rate, and the technology sector will grow even more quickly, 10–15% a year as a growth rate. Some sectors are growing by 20%. So as you can see, the possibility to apply nanotechnologies are very wide. In electronics, for example, just to name only one example. So all the basic sectors of the economy will also be revolutionized thanks to these new nanotechnologies. And digital, bio, and nanotechnologies will contribute to boosting efficiency in all sectors, reducing the raw material consumption. And of course, traditional sectors will grow more slowly, but they will grow, thanks to new technologies. In this context, we see a very important development possibilities, especially for the Russian economy. The goal is to get to a 10% growth rate per year. Therefore, we need to overcome faults in certain sectors, acquire cutting-edge technology, and in particular, this is linked to the Eurasian Economic Commission. To answer your question on what this commission is doing in terms of technology, we are drafting regulations in this sector. And even though right now the regulations are focusing only on one aspect, that of security, they are based on recent developments in science and technology. So we are creating a system of Eurasian standards that is compatible with the European one. In certain cases, our standards are even more restrictive. We have already approved about 60 regulations, and we are almost done in this task. So the same is true in terms of food security. and we will have a specific session on this. Everything is being done at a European level. We are also working at a development strategy for the Eurasian space. We have created the single market, which is a reality in terms of regulations, but also in terms of state purchases and other parameters as well. So our main task now is to ensure rapid growth rates based on new technologies, and therefore we should focus on cooperation, scientific and technological cooperation. We are developing a framework program with a view to this, based on the experience of the EU. So we hope to be able to create this framework document in the next 2 years. We are reviewing prerequisites for databases. We are creating a digital university of the Eurasian Union. We are open to all kinds of cooperation. And to conclude, I would like to invite my colleagues of the European Union to forget differences and forget trade limitations, because the European Union is our main trade partner, because half of our turnover was linked to the EU. Now, under the sanctions imposed by the US, there has been an inversion that is detrimental to Europe itself. And this is also disrupting technical and scientific cooperation, but we are trying to reverse this approach, because it's wrong and it will not bring benefits to the world. I would like to take advantage of my presence here in Baku to invite all Europeans to create a mixed group to assess the damage created by the sanctions and think of new ways to cooperate.
Also to the Commission and the delegation of European Union in Moscow. And the business share your view, you know that perfectly, so that it's clear. Now I will turn to a European citizen. So Marco Ravazzolo, you are responsible of climate change, let's say, in Confindustria. Confindustria, it's Italian RSPP, for the people who doesn't know. But so, what is your view on the subject also? But what is European and the Italian experience in that field?
Grazie, desidero
Well, thank you. I first of all would like to thank all the organizers. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. It's the first time for me. I would start from some facts from the scientific world, because this is a good starting point to then move on and think together of solutions and answers. Of course, the average temperature of the Earth's surface has increased by 0.9 degrees Celsius in the last century, and we will reach 2 degrees Celsius by 2050, which is a threshold that once crossed, changes will be irreversible. And science is also telling us that at this rate, we will, by 2050, we will be producing 3.4 billion tons of waste every year, 70% more than the baseline set in 2016. And the situation in pollution is also a great source of concern. So the key word to find an answer is decoupling. we need to make sure that economic and social progress is neutral, carbon neutral. So we need three kinds of actions to do that. So three different aspects stemming from the technologies we will need to develop. So we need more efficiency when using resources. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and moving from a linear development pattern to a circular pattern. All of the three goals require a great effort from the industry and strong international cooperation. Without these two elements, none of the three goals will be reached. So we can look at these challenges and all the possible solutions from many different viewpoints. One of them is, for example, that of the global value chains. They represent 2/3 of global trade. And so we need to understand what kind of policies we can adopt to go in the direction of sustainability and to solve all the problems that I just mentioned. So global value chains, the global value chains stopped growing in 2020, but in 2021 they resumed growing and they got to even higher levels than 2019. Of course, national policies are becoming more complex. So that's why we need an international cooperation. So what kind of policies could be adopted? First of all, to strengthen the participation of local economies into the global value chains, and then policies to increase the added value participation from local economies, and to increase environmental standards in the global value chains in order to spread that to the whole of the chain. Just to wrap up very quickly, I think we need three elements. First of all, we need to adopt policies in an international context that fosters cooperation, the widest cooperation possible among countries. The challenge of the green transition and of the digital transition cannot be won by individual states. We need to cooperate. But we also need a basic principle, that is of digital neutrality. There is not just one answer. There is a mix of actions and technologies. Let me make an example in Italy. Italy is one of the best countries in Europe for the circular economy. We have a productivity index that is 3.3 euro per GDP per kilo. So we're very good at doing a lot with very little. So we process raw materials several times, and we do that with paper, glass, steel, using gas energy. That is a fossil fuel, of course, but if we use raw materials efficiently, we have decarbonization repercussions. So it's important to share timelines and goals at an international level without focusing on a single technology. Of course, we will need huge investments. We believe strongly in renewable energies. In Italy, the wind, solar, and geothermal energies, also studying nuclear fusion potential with a timeline that allows us to keep up investing.
Thank you. Very kind of you, and I really thank the two speakers that they respect their time. I'm very impressed. Now I turn to Dmitry Pupiansky. Dmitry Alexandrovich, you are Vice President of the Board of the RSPP. As I said, you have also very important industrial experience indeed. So, with your experience, because I turn to you, say, how do you think how the big Russian companies introduce new technologies in their factories, in fact? And second, how they try to use or they use the experience of the universities?
Спасибо большое, Филипп, уважаемые коллеги.
Well, today's session includes very important topics, very serious ones. So we're discussing the synergy between high-tech and basic sectors of the economy. Of course, these two concepts cannot be contrasted, because the basic sectors consume and need new technologies, and high-tech sectors such as IT and others, they have become basic, fundamental sectors in many economies in the world, almost all the economies in the world. So we should talk about a symbiosis of new sectors and basic sectors, and large corporations are introducing new technologies, not only in Russia, the US, or Europe, in general. Of course, this introduction will help becoming more competitive, but also to go in the direction of sustainable development. New technologies are allowing us to reach an unprecedented level of synergy in basic sectors, thanks to new projects and new sectors such as medicine, culture, education, so the social dimension of states. And new technologies can ensure to basic sectors the possibility to get their players more involved, which is fundamental for any great corporation right now. They shouldn't see their work as their job as just a place where they go every day to work, but they need to see themselves as participating actively in everything that the company is producing, also in all the other sectors, the voluntary sector, the entertainment sector, the health sector, etc. That all great large companies are involved in all of these sectors now too, and these large companies are now pioneering new technologies. And why is that? Well, because large corporations have a large economic and human resources to invest. Corporations become drivers for the whole economy, and in time we have seen that economic uncertainty ensures that corporations have an important stabilizing role, because their products are the fundamental products for consumers. They are called basic sectors in Russian precisely for this reason. So as economic drivers, they will have to specifically focus on training at a very high level, and every specialist now needs to keep up to date and keep training and be very flexible in all sectors, because they are all evolving very rapidly. So thanks to new technologies, large corporations have to focus on the training of their executives. In recent years, in all European countries, in Russia, in the US, there have specific programs have been devised for executive training. And in Russia, we have a number of training centers, world-level training centers, included in a program that has been functioning for 10 years now. It's included in the 2030 priority program to make sure that Russian universities reach a top level by 2030. There's also a project for engineering schools. We know that training executives is very important also in Azerbaijan. There is a review ongoing of all schools, and other countries have similar programs in the Eurasian area too. Russian companies participate in these programs, and the most important universities in Russia, as well, together with the companies, they're creating the schools of the future, where future executives are trained. They are working together to devise the curricula of these schools. And I think this experience can be of interest for other countries too. And let me make a concrete proposal now. One of the cutting-edge schools in Russia within the Urals University at Yekaterinburg. I have a direct link with this university because I sit on the control board of this university. And I'd like to invite all the guests of the Verona Forum and our friends from the University of Verona and the Central University in Baku. Would like to invite them to collaborate with the Federal Urals University to create a school for executive training. The Baku University is very strong in the scientific field. The Verona University is strong in the field of robotics and digital technologies, and so we could create new equal opportunities of training in the respective fields of expertise. This could be very important to create shared standards in terms of professional skills, but also in terms of technical regulations, things already mentioned by Sergei Glaziev. This is particularly important given the situation we are in, where many supply chains have been broken. So we need overall programs, training programs, and exchange programs for executives. That is what we can actually do to support the cooperation between our countries. To conclude, I'd like to thank the organizers of this forum. Really, this Verona Forum has been a very important arena for dialogue for many years, one of the very few remaining ones, and we need to take advantage of it also in the future to keep working on relations. Thank you.
I think to have your opinion on this event. Now I will turn to Rashid Ismailov. Rashid Ismailov is a very interesting person. He's indeed president of Vilpencom, but for me, I always wanted to meet with him because he's also, in my opinion, a sort of guru, I would say. His technological revolution for him is not the future, it's the present. And so he has a view even forwards, that's the view that we have. So, Rashid, where do we go? Where do we go? What do we have to go? Even that you see, you can tell us what is your view? What are the sectors we need to go, and what we have to do? All that in 7 minutes.
Да, я постараюсь уложиться.
Well, when I was preparing for this meeting, I thought that in the paradigm of the fourth technological revolution, we have recreated the archetype. I thought of Pythagoras, who thought everything is a number. There are people who are ideologists of the fourth generation. Klaus Schwab and Pythagoras thought that the world of numbers was the ideal world. But the driver of this revolution is the fact that the industry was pushed and driven forward by the launch of the Internet. The Internet was like the first printed book by Gutenberg when it became a mass product. I recently read that the human brain has changed drastically since we've started reading. Now, we have seen the beginning of the virtualization of the economy. This has embraced all areas of our life. The speed of communication has increased manifold. We've already talked about how the life of people has changed under the pressure of technologies. We have seen that manufacturing and consumption have also changed, and business models have changed because of technology. The technological revolution, the fourth revolution, was initially seen as a tool, an instrument to become more competitive. And we didn't really take into account all anthropological and human sides of technology. At first, the idea was simply to optimize processes within factories. And this approach required the need to create machineries that could not only manufacture something by themselves, but it also required machines that could self-tune and self-adapt to the working conditions. The revolution then expanded to all objects in our lives, from cars to fridges, where we find our food. Then we started seeing the Internet of Things. Digital economy was launched, and if we look of people who live in cities, we can see that virtually nobody lives without some app on their smartphones. Now, the need has emerged to find a balance between the physical world and the virtual world, ensuring the interaction to create high-speed transmission systems. So in this context, the people only have the role of consumers, of customers. You know, you order something, a product, through technology. Thanks to this progress, a new possibility to trick people have emerged. Now, this is a more daunting challenge for the economy and for society at large, the possibility to enact frauds. We still have to overcome all the consequences of this new reality. Over time, people have started to lose some skills and abilities, and often without electronic gadgets, without virtual assistance, often our life is inconceivable, unthinkable of. The more time people spend in the technology reality, the more they feel detached from true physical reality. Now, we feel scared of this consequence. Europe, by the way, was the first to implement a law on the protection of personal data. Government started to realize that big tech companies such as Microsoft, Google, PayPal well, they had started to create contents guiding the perception of the world and influencing the way we perceive the world. This ability has a huge effect. Even the ideologists of the 4.0 technological revolution have started to doubt whether this revolution is good or not. I met Schwab twice, the first time before he published his book on the fourth technological revolution. At the time, he was very optimistic. And he had a lot of hope. And then 6 months later, 6 months after the first crisis of the logistic chains, when Myers was attacked by hackers, and so many viruses were launched by hackers, well, then we met again, and we talked about all the possible measures that could be implemented to protect ourselves from these attacks. He was confident that everything could be controlled, but we've now seen that this is not possible. Now, the social aspect of this technological revolution is quite relevant. We've seen that the number of jobs is not increasing, quite the opposite. After the first 3 revolutions, when different standards were developed and when education was improved, when medical and healthcare was improved, now that had a positive outcome. But given the current revolution, these services could even become inaccessible to some people. Many anti-globalists did say that the world had lost its spirituality and that everything was being standardized. So they were blaming Hollywood, mass culture. But this happened among ideologies, among people who were against globalization for ideological reasons. In the sphere of economics, some mechanisms have appeared, and they use the physical networks copied from the technological and digital one. In our field, after a time of over-the-top companies' penetration in the market, we've also seen companies using the infrastructure of classic operators without paying anything, while operators were forced to invest constantly because the traffic capacity had to continuously grow, and this requires conspicuous investments. Operators and the state are on the same side because they represent the real world, the world that invests real resources in the development of networks. And they need to bear the growing costs of energy. You know, any new internet connection requires more energy. To feed a 3G device, it takes more energy than it is required for a 2G. And for 4G, you need even more. So governments started to pass laws in this field. For instance, in the United States, a law on the sovereign internet was passed. At the same time, the role of global organization has grown too, such as those that give access to frequencies. We'll have to understand that without big investments in the infrastructure and then in the energy system, no kind of 4.0 technological revolution is possible. It must go hand in hand with those other investments as well. I listened to the speakers who spoke about humanism in the morning, and I have to say that a month ago I lost the elections. I was a candidate for Secretary General of the Union of Electrical Connections. My program had 5 points. The technologies that we now have could be used by big corporations, and so we need to find a way to make sure that these technologies are put at the service of the development of humans, and that's the connections I made when I listened to the session on humanism. This is something that is important not only to me, but to many other people who are here in this room, I'm sure. Thank you very much.
And I mean, so the head of company speaking about their field, and all of them interesting. Now we'll turn to our friends from Azerbaijan. You know, the small countries, Azerbaijan is not so small, but in comparison with Russia, everybody is small. So, but the small countries are sometimes more agile even than the big countries. We know that in the EU with Luxembourg, for example. So we turn to Jayon. Since that day, you are the head of Strategy, Innovation and Digitalization at the Ministry of Digital Development and Transport of Republic of Azerbaijan. I will give you the following question. Azerbaijan is, of course, as everybody knows, an oil and gas producer and exporter, but in a long-term period, these exports are condemned to decrease. So how does the country prepare the turn to high technologies to keep the sustainable growth, and what are the technologies which are important to develop for you?
I'm a public servant and a policymaker, so I think I need to respond to your question from an institutional perspective. If I respond to your question right away, directly, I think I will not be able to portray the whole picture properly. You mentioned that oil and technology, so I think we have to split two kind of economies into two. So I will look at the historical perspective of Azerbaijan's economic growth trajectory. So the first period covers almost, I would say, 3 decades, starting from early 90s, where after breakdown of Soviet Union, we left with ruined economy and fragile institutions. Our main role during early 90s was to build proper institutions that will allow markets to function properly. And later on, there was a period of oil boom where we received huge oil revenues from producing oil and gas. And these resources allowed the country to finance social programs and to build necessarily physical infrastructure. I give you some numbers. Between 2000 and 2009, we reduced poverty rate from 50% in 2000 to 5% in 2009. During 2005 and 2008, we have experienced almost digit number economic growth. That was at that time unprecedented number. And later, we know all about financial crisis of 2008 and 9. And then, so this urged us to change our policy paradigm. So we understand that oil-based hydrocarbonate commodity-based economy is not sustainable because of two reasons. Because we know that global energy markets are now shifting towards renewables. And second, we understand that the commodity-based economy is not sustainable because we have seen this in the past when oil prices go down, so the economy faces shocks. So our purpose now is to reduce these external shocks, so to make the economy less vulnerable to such external shocks. So I think that the economy is currently, Azerbaijan's economy is at its steady state, where the last 30 years our economy was commodity-based. Now we have reached our steady state, economy reached its steady state. So I call this a divergent point where we have to boost our economy to next paradigm shift. So we understand this, and this year we introduced new Azerbaijan 2030 social economic strategy, where the strategy envisages to introduce new sustainable, competitive, and innovative economy. So the first, as I already mentioned, the period of economy was like hydrocarbonate commodity-based economy. Now we are looking forward to introduce second generation of reforms. So that are tech-based reforms. We understand that Azerbaijan is a newcomer in this area. So we are now trying to build enablers of innovative economy. So those are first like government policies that would create incentives for tech entrepreneurs to grow. Secondly, we need to introduce such policies that would shift resources from traditional industries to new industries. So these policies should enable markets to allocate resources freely and properly. So the second enabler, I think, is a digital infrastructure. So, because without we know broadband, new frontier and emerging technologies would not be able to develop, like IoT, AI, or big data and other emerging technologies will not develop. Therefore, as a ministry in charge of digital development, Ministry of Digital Development and Transport, we are now trying to connect every Azerbaijani citizen to broadband. Azerbaijan is really in good position globally in terms of internet connections. We are well above global average. Almost 85% of population has access to broadband. That includes both mobile and fixed broadband. But still, we have digital divide in between urban and rural areas. So we are now introducing new generation technologies that is fiber optic internet in various cities, particularly in rural areas. So we target until 2024 to connect every Azerbaijani citizen to broadband. So we believe that we will reach this target, and so we already have, so far we have achieved our goals in this term. The third, I think, enabler of the ecosystem startup and tech startup ecosystem would be development of our human capital, because you know, the oil-based economy shifted human capital. So this is actually one of the disadvantages of resource-rich countries, that those resource commodity industries shift the human capital to that sectors. So that actually happened in Azerbaijan as well. So now we are trying to build human capital, which will be able to drive technology-based economy. So we have already introduced several educational programs that will help us to achieve our innovative economy. So finally, I think probably that is valid for all tech-based companies, startups, is of course financing, because we do have sufficient resources, financial resources, capital to finance industries, but startups are, tech startups are not able to immediately service their repayments. So they need a long-term, it's called passion capital, so long-term financing. Because they're at their infant, mature level, so they need some period to grow. We have various programs on this direction as well, where we are trying to build VC funds together with private sector, so that such funds will be able to finance new emerging entrepreneurs. So finally, the question is whether we will be able to achieve our long-term objectives, to shift from commodity-based economy to more greener and technology-based economy. I think yes, if we would implement all our projects that we envisage in our Azerbaijan 2030 strategy, I think yeah, we'll achieve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Leon. Thank you. Now, I will give the floor to Tamerlan Tagriev. You are Executive Director of the Center for Analysis and Coordination of the Fourth Industrial Revolution of Azerbaijan. I will give you shortly 2 questions. If you can be, if you are short, it will be possible to have lunch for everybody. So how do you think the technological advancement and digitalization will help the economic growth in Azerbaijan? And what sort of cooperation and contribution the center that you are at the head can receive or contribute?
Thank you, Felipe. It's always hard to be the last speaker, but today I'm not only last, but I'm in between the session and the lunch, I guess. So bear with me just a little bit. I will try to be as short as possible. Nevertheless, as the previous speaker said, yes, Azerbaijan is undergoing its own reset. So we are shifting from commodity-driven economy into tech-advanced digital economy, which will be based on data. It will be circular economy. It will be, again, data-driven economy. And I'm sure that, yes, definitely we are going to achieve this goal. Just recently, or let's say within last 2 years, the Center for Coordination and Analysis of the Fourth Industrial Revolution under the Ministry of Economy was created. The Ministry of Digital Development and Transportation was created. Our Karabakh region was announced as a territory where the green and smart technologies will be used to restore our lands. So all this shows the understanding on the top level that we need to move in that direction. Our center was created to basically work with the international institutions that are dealing with the fourth industrial revolution. We are there to coordinate the efforts in that regard, as well as to coordinate and analyze the strategies, projects, and initiatives with regards to the digital economy. Just for your information, we just recently the socio-economic development strategy for 2022-26 was approved in Azerbaijan, and as per that strategy, we are, and our center will be one of the leading forces in that. We will be creating the digital economy strategy, and we believe that we need this document to outline our vision, where we go in that regard, and then act accordingly. We definitely believe that the technological advancement is something that allows countries to benefit from so-called fourth industrial revolution, but there are also challenges, definitely. The challenges are different, and it relates to each and every technology that we can mention. Artificial intelligence brings a lot of questions about data protection, or how ethical it is. 3D printing. It's interesting how you may nowadays have a 3D printed objects or products being far away from the producer, actually, just by receiving some codes. Or IoT devices that are already part of our lives. And even today in our audience, sometimes we are not sure are those people are with us or with their small devices. And we are being interrupted and disrupted by that technology. So we need to start living with them. But also, I believe here, as my colleague said, we also have to regulate this world. And when we talk about the digital economy in Azerbaijan, I will just maybe reiterate some points. Yes, definitely, we need the solid infrastructure, including internet, available all over the country. And it should be stable and accessible and affordable. We need the financing for those who want to digitalize their services and products. We need to make sure that our people are ready and they are digitally skilled, and we need to tackle digital divide issue. At the same time, if we are talking about the digital world, we need to know how to regulate it and how to protect it. So this is where the issue of the creation of strategies, legal frameworks comes, and when we are talking about the protection, the cybersecurity issue is very important. Today, one cyber attack can bring such a damage that no real war could do. And of course, we are going to adapt to make sure that the fourth industrial revolution technologies are adapted and available in all areas of our economy. So this is maybe in a nutshell what's going on in Azerbaijan. Just want to also mention that we are working with international partners, and our center is also hosting the Fourth Industrial Revolution affiliate center of the World Economic Forum in Azerbaijan, and we are working with them on 3 major platforms, which are AI and machine learning, IoT and urban transformation, as well as digital trade. But these are, the operation of our center is not limited to these sectors only, but it is wider. And as I said, we believe that together with our partners worldwide, we will really achieve some great results in this regard. Thank you, and hope to see you during the lunch maybe.
Thank you, Tamara. Very good of you to be so short. I want to just to add that the Association of European Business in Moscow is planning a delegation, a business trip here to Baku in the next month. Let's say maybe beginning of next year. But it's something that we will do absolutely. So thank you to the speakers that you were so short and so on. I think we were the best panel that we were on time. It's quite rare. So really thank you, and I think now we have the people here have an idea of this revolution and what will be our future. Thank you.